What's up? Trying to put together a cool idea for an ITL, and I started thinking about some old school techniques that maybe we could do inside Pro Tools. And so I spent a little time creating an old school ducking example for you. And then I started thinking, what the hell's the difference between ducking and side chaining? Back in the day, I made my own compressor because I couldn't afford one. And I realized that it was just an internal side chain that I created to do a ducking technique. So back in the day, it was used. You'd put the guitars through a compressor, and then you'd put the vocals through the side chain. And when the vocal came in, the guitars would drop down automatically. That's still used a lot, by the way, and it's a great technique in the analog world. And then there's a couple of places like the Drummer, Echo Farm has a ducking. But anyway, I digress. What I'm going to show you today is a way to get feedback on a delay, old school style. Dave, I got a perfectly working feedback button. Why don't I just slide this feedback button over to something and get the feedback I want? Well, you could do that, but what does feedback do? It takes the delay and it sends a piece of the delay back into itself. Now that piece comes back out the delay and gets fed back into itself, and that's why it's feeding back. It's a loop, and that's how we get the delays. And as the feedback goes through, it becomes less and less and less in volume. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's kind of boring. Now, what if I take and put something on before the delay so that every time the feedback goes through, something new happens? Okay, so I decided, let's take a bit crusher, let's take lo-fi, or any effect you want. It can be like a high pass filter, a low pass filter. So now every time the signal goes back through the delay on the feedback cycle, it gets more and more and more of that effect added to it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's my vocal. It's coming out of this track here that says hush. I'm just rolling a little low end off. So here's the track with nothing. Oh, pretty cool. Okay, now if I wanted a delay, I can take it and send it to 61 and 62. I'm using 2 mono auxes because I want ping ponging. So on 61, I've got a quarter note delay, no feedback. This one I've got a half note delay, no feedback. So let's check that out. Okay, so you only hear 2 delays. First one left, first one right. Listen again. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, pay attention. The left delay is being fed from bus 61. I'm gonna send a piece of the right delay back to the left delay. Now let's listen to that. Hear that? We gotta repeat. Now let's do the same thing the other way. So we've created our own feedback loop. Now the fun part. Let's degrade, every time the signal goes back through, let's degrade it a little bit. But you can use anything you want. I'm using lo-fi. Okay, now watch this. Pretty cool, huh? Now you can control the decay. I've got it set up so it's just gonna stay the same, but it degrades every time. Now, I wanted to take a little bit of the top end off just to make it a little less grainy. So, experiment with that, try different things you could try. Like I said, a real narrow bandwidth. You could automate the bandwidth so each time the delay cycles back through, it would have a different tone. You could automate a pitch shifter. Each time the delay comes through, it'd be a different note. So there's all kinds of techniques you can use once you have access to that feedback loop, okay? All right, guys, next time.